Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're tackling something I think everyone struggles with, that gap, between knowing what you should be doing and, well, actually getting it done.
Hmm.
Our source material is this really comprehensive guide called Goodbye, Procrastination, Slowness, and Laziness.
It's quite a title, isn't it? But the thinking behind it is solid. It's less about quick fixes and more like an efficiency manual grounded in behavioral science and neurocognitive stuff.
Exactly.
For you, the listener, think of it as finding ways to smooth out those little psychological bumps that slow you down at work, turning them into, well, actionable systems.
And that's really our mission today, isn't it? To take these insights, these sometimes surprising bits of research, and make them practical. Tools you can actually use right away without needing a PhD in psychology.
Right. We're kind of reverse engineering the brain's quirks to work for us, not against us, finding those little shortcuts to perform better.
Okay, so let's jump right in. The big one, the action gap. Why is it there?
Let's do it. Yeah, we all know that feeling. You have this huge long-term goal, maybe launching a big project or trying to stick to a diet, and you just don't. And then you beat yourself up, call it laziness.
But the book argues it's often not laziness, not really a moral issue. It's more like a predictable glitch in our thinking.
Precisely. It comes down to why that big, important future goal seems so much less appealing than, say, checking your email for the 10th time right now.
Okay, explain that. What's the mechanism?
Well, it's a core idea called hyperbolic discounting. George Ainsley did a lot of work on this. Essentially, your brain gives way, way too much value to any reward it can get immediately compared to a much bigger reward that's further down the road.
Even if that future reward is objectively way better.
Yes, even then, the delay makes it feel less real, less valuable. So the huge payoff of finishing a 3-month project or the health benefits of dieting for a whole year, those get mentally discounted because they're far off.
I see. But the immediate hit scrolling social media for 5 minutes, grabbing that snack that feels completely real and tempting right now.
Exactly. Its value isn't discounted at all. The present reward is concrete, tangible. The future one is abstract. That's why, doing 3 minutes of easy admin work can feel more compelling than starting 1 hour of really difficult but crucial strategic thinking.
Okay, so the obvious solution seems to be break down the big goal. But doesn't that create its own problems? Like if I break a huge project into 100 tiny steps, am I just constantly switching tasks and losing focus? That feels inefficient too.
That's a really important point. It's not just about making the pieces smaller. The key is to segment the work into chunks that give you an immediate sense of accomplishment. You need that little psychological reward, that dopamine hit, regularly. So for a big project, maybe you define a 2-hour block focused solely on one specific part, like drafting the presentation slides or cleaning one data set, something you can actually finish and feel good about now.
Got it. So you're harvesting that immediate reward feeling to counteract the discounting of the bigger goal.
Precisely. You turn the daunting marathon into a series of rewarding sprints.
Okay, that makes sense for getting started on those big, intimidating things. But what about finishing them? Especially when you get stuck. The book talks about the power of the unfinished, right?
Yes, the Zeigarnik effect. This came from Bluma Zeigarnik, noticing, fascinatingly, that waiters had perfect recall of orders they hadn't delivered yet.
But completely forgot them once the food was on the table.
Exactly. We seem hardwired to remember incomplete tasks much better than finished ones.
Why is that? What's the brain doing there?
Well, when you start a goal, it creates this kind of mental tension. Your brain sees it as an unresolved issue, an open loop, so it keeps that task sort of active in your working memory, nagging at you a bit.
Like an app running in the background?
Kind of, yeah. Once the task is done, the tension releases, the loop closes, and your brain is like, okay, done with that, clear the memory.
So how can we actually use that? Weaponize the tension, as you said.
Well, if you hit a wall on a really tricky problem, maybe a complex analysis or a difficult bit of writing, the advice is counterintuitive. Use the temporary interrupt rule.
Meaning, just stop.
Yes, deliberately pause, maybe even mid-sentence or mid-calculation, step away for a short break, grab coffee, do a quick unrelated task for maybe 10-15 minutes.
And the idea is that the subconscious keeps chewing on it.
That's the theory. That underlying tension keeps the problem active in the background. Your brain keeps processing connections. So when you come back to it, you often find you have a fresh perspective, better recall, maybe even a solution pops up.
You're essentially letting your subconscious do some of the heavy lifting while you take a break.
You got it. It's a clever way to handle those moments of feeling completely stuck.
That's a really neat trick.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. The third big hurdle, willpower. We tend to think of it as this, I don't know, infinite resource of mental strength. But the research, especially from Roy Baumeister, tells a different story.
Yeah, a much tougher story, unfortunately. The basic finding is that willpower is finite. It really is like a battery. And critically, all the different things that require self-control, resisting distractions, focusing hard on a complex task, even managing your emotions with a difficult person, they all draw power from the same battery.
Oh, wow. So it's one single pool.
One pool. That's the crucial insight.
I can definitely relate to that classic example. Studying intensely for exams, using all my focus, and then suddenly finding I had zero ability to resist junk food or make myself go for a run. I just felt like I'd failed somehow.
And that feeling of failure is almost part of the problem, isn't it? Because the source material stresses this isn't just mental weakness, it's physiological. There's actually a surprising link between stable self-control and, get this, stable blood glucose levels.
Wait, you're saying my ability to bite my tongue in a tense meeting this afternoon could literally depend on what I had for lunch?
It absolutely could. Things like a big sugar hit give you a quick spike, sure, but then comes the crash. And that crash dramatically reduces the physical energy your brain needs to exert self-control.
So willpower isn't just mental grit. It's also about managing physical resources, like fuel.
Exactly. Diet, hydration, even sleep. They're fundamental support systems for your willpower reserve.
Okay, so if we accept willpower is this limited battery, what's the practical application? How do we manage it?
It comes down to two things, really. Triage and protection. You have to prioritize.
Meaning?
Meaning, tackle your most important task, the one needing the most focus and self-control, first thing in the day when your battery is fully charged. Don't save the hardest stuff for 4 p.m.
Okay, protect the peak energy time.
Right. And the other big takeaway, don't try to do two major willpower-draining things at once. Don't launch a massive new project and try to quit smoking in the same week.
Ah,
Focus your big self-control efforts on one major goal at a time to conserve that limited resource.
that really changes how you think about lack of focus or procrastination. It's less of a character flaw and more of a resource management problem.
It is. It's a systems challenge deeply tied to how our brains and bodies actually work.
And thinking about systems, one big challenge for listeners, for all of us really, is just information overload. Emails, data, reports.
Yeah.
It's endless. How does this connect to managing that?
Yeah, that's a huge source of friction. And this brings us back to some classic cognitive psychology, specifically about the limits of our working memory.
You mean chunking?
Yeah.
That idea that we can only hold so much in our head at once.
Exactly. Our short-term, or working memory, is notoriously limited. George Miller's famous paper talked about the magic number 7 plus or minus 2. Basically, we can comfortably hold maybe 5 to 9 distinct pieces or chunks of information active at any one time.
So my to-do list has like 25 items on it.
Your brain literally can't handle it efficiently. It feels overwhelming because it is overwhelming your working memory capacity.
Okay, so the practical step here is about structuring things.
Yeah.
Don't just stare at the massive list.
Right. You have to consciously organize the chaos into meaningful groups or chunks of around 5 to 9 items. So instead of trying to absorb a whole 50-page report at once, maybe break it down into 5 key sections to review one by one.
Or instead of one giant to-do list.
Maybe create 3 smaller themed lists. Top priorities today, calls to make, quick admin tasks. Chunking takes that overwhelming complexity and makes it mentally digestible. It lets your brain process without getting swamped.
And that presumably helps preserve that precious willpower too, because you're not constantly feeling overwhelmed.
Absolutely. It reduces the mental strain. Okay, so let's maybe try and pull these ideas together. What are the key takeaways for immediate action?
Well, we've got 3 main strategies so far, right? 1, segment those big long-term goals into smaller pieces that give you that immediate reward feeling.
Yeah.
That counters the hyperbolic discounting.
Mm-hmm.
2, use the Zeigarnik effect. When you're stuck on something hard, take a strategic pause. Let that mental tension work for you in the background.
Right, the temporary interrupt.
And 3, protect that finite willpower battery. Eat well, manage your energy, and tackle your most important high-control task early. And definitely single task your major goals.
That's a great summary. And building on that idea of organizing complex tasks, like chunking, there's a more advanced technique the source mentions called scripts, or sometimes schema. Roger Schenck did work on this.
Scripts, like for a play.
Sort of. Think about everyday actions like going out for dinner or driving to work. You have an established mental script for those, right? Sit down, order, eat, pay. You don't consciously think through every single step each time.
No, it's automatic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But when you face a new, complex, multi-step work task like preparing a quarterly budget for the first time or learning new software you don't have a script yet, and figuring out each step as you go burns a huge amount of mental energy and willpower.
I see where this is going. So the action is to literally create the script.
Yes. Write it down. List out the sequence of steps needed for that challenging task, like a recipe. Externalize the procedure.
By writing it down, you take the load off your working memory.
Precisely. You don't have to constantly think, okay, what do I do next? You just follow the script. It helps turn a conscious, effortful task into something more automatic, more routine over time. And that frees up your limited mental bandwidth for the actual thinking and problem solving, not just following procedure.
That's really powerful, turning effort into routine to save energy. Okay, fantastic. So, for a final thought, the book touches on stress in a really interesting way. We often focus on the big crises, right?
Yeah, the major life events, job loss, moving, things like that.
But the research highlighted in the book suggests most of our day-to-day stress, that feeling of being drained or anxious, it doesn't actually come from those big things.
No, it often comes from the accumulation of small, chronic daily hassles, the little frictions. That coworker who always interrupts, constantly running 5 minutes late, never quite getting your desk organized, wrestling with a clunky piece of software every single day.
Those little things we just sort of accept as background noise.
Exactly. But they add up. They're like tiny, constant drains on your mental energy and willpower.
So the challenge we want to leave you with, building on everything we've discussed, is maybe this week, try to consciously identify those small, persistent annoyances, the ones you usually just ignore or sigh about.
Yeah, actually write them down. Name them. Stop just letting them happen to you.
Because once you identify those little friction points, those minor drains, you can actually start applying some of these psychological tools we've talked about, chunking the problem, creating a script to deal with it, protecting your willpower around it.
It's about taking back control, isn't it? Moving from feeling passively stressed by these small things to proactively finding ways to fix them or adapt to them.
Exactly. It's about moving from that feeling of slow, dragging procrastination towards immediate effective action, even if it starts with tackling just one small, nagging annoyance, one small victory at a time.